The following is a presentation of iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations on LSRTV.
Live tonight from the Irish Hills of Michigan, real sim racing action returns to LSRTV and iRacing Live for our first race on the 2017 side of the calendar. As we say, good evening sim racing fans and welcome to the Michigan International Speedway. For tonight's Michigan 90, it's round number 5 of 10 under 2016-2017 Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series presented by Hippie's Paint Shop. As always, we're happy to have you with us tonight. Myself, Evan Pasoko, joined alongside by the lovely and talented Cisco Scaramuza. Cisco, Michigan is an extremely unique racetrack. We come to it tonight as the fastest track on our calendar, and it also marks the halfway point on this championship. I know that the guys much enjoyed those couple of weeks off for the break, but they are ready to get back at it. They are going to have an off week again in 1 week's time before we do start the second half of this campaign, but I know that the guys are excited to get back on track, and really, this is when things are going to start to heat up, because you look back at a place like Las Vegas from 1 week ago, Jeff Ward, who had a couple of rough weeks, really, to open up the season, get it a win, getting himself locked into the chase, so really, we're starting to get down to crunch time, and I know it kind of seems strange to be talking about that just really 5 weeks into the season, but this is not a long road to the title.
No, it isn't, Evan, and as we take a look at the point standings right now in front of us, Scott Simley continues to lead with E.J. O'Rourke only 5 points back, but, we're getting to the point where we're halfway through the season after tonight, and it's starting to get to crunch time. You're starting to run out of time to be able to make up let's say, if you're Michael Waters, a 33-point gap on Scott Simley. Sure, you might have a bad night roll his way, but that's still a big gap when you really think about, especially with how Simley and O'Rourke have been running. They've been running top 10s, Evan. It's going to be hard to catch those guys unless they make a mistake.
Not able to find the exact number, but I believe in those first 2 races, Jeff Ward didn't finish inside of the top 35 in either of them, and then he got a second place finish at the 3rd race on the year at Texas, and then he went on to win at Las Vegas. So it's not going to be an intermediate racetrack for him tonight. Again, we mix things up at the 2-mile D-shaped Open of Michigan, but it shows you that, you can have a rough start, and it's something that we talked about in this opening 2 weeks. You want to start from behind, getting an advantage early. Well, it doesn't guarantee you anything, definitely helps. But now these guys are to the point where if you're not performing, you're going to be running out of time very quickly. The drivers just wrap it up. Their 10-minute 2-car qualifying session. Cars out on track by themselves. Best lap going to set the grid for tonight's race. You talk about those drivers inside of the top positions in the championship. Simley, your leader, in E.J. O'Rourke. Also names like Mike Kelly, Jose Gonzalez, David Comstock. One thing that I find interesting, Cisco, just looking at those stats, none of the drivers inside of the top 4 have a win yet. Consistency seems to be the key, and something else that I find interesting is that Scott Simley in first place in the points has only led 1 lap, and Mike Kelly, who's 3rd, hasn't led a single lap. So, to that notion, it seems that, a win is going to help you, and we saw how that benefited Jeff Ward, what was now about 2-3 weeks ago. Consistency has been the name of the game so far in this 2016-17 campaign.
And what is it they always say? Consistency wins championships. And if you're someone like, let's say, a Brian Macklin, ran up front plenty, but you get caught up in wrecks, and that's not going to win you a championship.
We get set to go racing for the 5th time on this 2016-17 campaign, and with that, the qualifying session has drawn to a close. We go trackside and take a look at tonight's LSRTV starting grid. Pole position going to belong to Mr. David Comstock. Comes into tonight, and this is his 2nd pole on the year with a 39.494. He'll bring us to the green flag tonight. Talking about Brian Macklin, that 03 machine, going to start tonight P2. Jose Gonzalez, Raul Alves, two other familiar names. Going to make up back on row number 2. Jeff Ward, another solid qualifying spot. He's the top 5 car.
Starting 6th is going to be the 41 of E.J. O'Rourke, and then starting 7th is going to be the 62 of William Hale. 8th is going to go to our points leader, Scott Simley. 9th will go to Dwayne Vincent, and 10th going to round out your top 10, Bobby Terrell.
Chad Cole and Michael Waters going to be back in row 6. They'll be 11 and 12 tonight. Unlucky number 13 belongs to the David Duke, Eric Arnold, Joe Hudson alongside in 14th, and A.J. Browning in P15.
Scott Brotherton's going to round out your top 16. Then 17th is going to be the 42 of Scott Stenzel. Mike Kelly will round out P18. 19th is going to go to Josh Chaney, and 20th to Gerald Campbell.
Bobby Wetzel, Jeff Faviano, Matthew Payne, Shane Ewing, and Steve Bavacqua from 21st through 25th.
Doug Roth is your number in the number 43, starting 26. 27th going to go to the 44 of John Fowler. 28th will go to Mike Franklin. 29th to Jeffrey Ford, and 30th to Justin Lisenby.
The rest of the drivers going to take some provisional times tonight, only the top 29. Locking in with times, Eric Scherer in the 31st spot, along with Joey Jettina, Douglas Wyatt, and David Batone, all the way through 34th position. Going to be on the grid here tonight. That's a look top to bottom at your LSRTV starting grid. We take a look at tonight's track facts about this Michigan International Speedway. As noted, a 2-mile D-shaped oval, banking at 18 degrees. A lot of people compare it to its sister track, if you will, of Fontana. We were there at around number 2, but a completely different complexion races if you look at them side by side, because we were under the lights in that second race on the year out in California. It is going to be a very different racetrack compared to that, but you're going to kind of have to run this one the same, because those 90 laps are going to get you 180 miles. Cisco, these races can go by very quickly. They can go green all the way, or they can have a lot of restarts, and restarts at Michigan are going to be critical.
Yeah, absolutely, and I do have to think back to last year. If you want to go look in the LSRTV archives, you'll notice why I bring up last year and restarts, but needless to say, you have to watch out for the guys, and of course, you know, that when you're starting on the track here, you have to make sure the guy in front of you goes, and maybe, I guess I'm just a little biased and a little venomous after last year, Evan, but needless to say, restarts are key here because of that draft, because of that aero package. The air is so important to these guys in these cars. Even the littlest bit of damage can cost you the race.
We'll keep a counter to see how many times we talked about last year tonight. We'll see how that one works. Nonetheless, we're happy to have you with us for the first time in 2017 right here on LSR TV and iRacing Live. The iRacing.com official pace car going to make the sharp left-hand turn down to the safety of the pit lane. Second time on the year, David Comstock collects the American Ethanol green flag. We're underway from Michigan for the 5th race on this Icebreaker Winter Series campaign presented by Hippie's Paint Shop.
And down to turn 1 they go right now. David Comstock leads the field. They're about 3 cars single file right there. Then the 26 of Jose Gonzalez got a great start on there. But E.J. O'Rourke on the high side, he's got the run coming down the backstretch. They're going to head towards turn 3, but E.J. got a great run.
Guys up front try to get things spread out side by side and tied to the top 5 with the 41 and the 26 side by side. It's the Meatball Mobile on the inside of Jose Gonzalez. He'll make it side by side off of the corner. No challenge for the top spot that time by. First lap led. The bonus point belongs to Mr. David Comstock P1. Macklin and Alvis go 2-3 after Alvis was able to pick up a spot from Jose Gonzalez, who started 3rd and was 5th the last time by. O'Rourke just had him by a nose, and now that 41 is actually going to clear him off at 1 and 2.
Off of 2 now as they go single file. A little bit contact back between Mike Kelly. He's spinning to the inside. The 35 of Gerald Campbell, he's also in the wall. That McDonald's machine, they're on the inside though, Evan. That'll stay green flag, but those 2 cars are way off now, and they're going to have to come to pit road.
Things weren't as bad for the 2, but the 35 took a good look to the fence, and I think Gerald Campbell is going to have to limp that thing down. Nonetheless, no caution. We stay green, and it's going to allow a move for P2. Alvis on the inside of the racetrack up on Brian Macklin. He'll take that spot away, and he's already up 2 positions from the start of this one. tight on the bumper, though, of David Comstock. Looked like he might have been going for a 2-for-1. He keeps his nose to the inside. So does Macklin, though. He'll cross and back up, go back down to the inside, and once again challenge 2 wide for the number 2 spot. Alvis on the outside of the racetrack, 3/4 of a car length to the good.
And Raul Alvis is really, this is kind of his MO. He's been up here. He's been able to challenge these Aftermath Motorsports drivers between Comstock, O'Rourke, and Macklin. But the problem with Alvis is he's so aggressive, and we saw that cost him earlier in the season. I believe it was at Auto Club. But nonetheless, he's back up here now. This is another 2-mile track, and he's up here challenged for the lead, and that's what can happen. Aggressiveness, car in the wall, caution is out.
Whole bunch of drivers going to be involved. O'Rourke is going to go all the way to the inside fence. Brian Macklin going to be involved in that one as well. Jose Gonzalez picks up damage, and all of that broke out at a turn number 2. It's a place where, as wide as this Michigan International Speedway is, you just start to run out of real estate. And the bad news there was contact between the 03 and the 30, and the 41 machine of E.J. O'Rourke went sliding up the hill at the same time. And because both of that happened in the same vicinity, not a lot of hope for these guys to get around it. And you had the 30, the 41, the 03, the 26 involved. Looked like maybe William Hale might have got a little bit of damage. Saw the 68 machine come into that. Scott Simley might have got a piece as well. And all of that happening inside of the top 10. But behind your race leader, David Comstock, he gets away scot-free. And some of the fastest cars in tonight's race now going to have to be working with some damage. Caution at lap number 4.
And that kind of turned into a Texas wreck almost, Evan. You know, everyone comes up out of the apex of turn 2 and straight up towards that wall, and that's what can happen. You know, everyone goes into that lane, just ran out of room. I think Macklin thought he was clear. I thought Alvis thought he was clear. That's from what I saw, but nonetheless, they just ran out of room, and desperation early on, and a bunch of wrecked race cars, and that's going to end the night of a couple of these guys, at least their chance to win a race here.
Brian Macklin going to take the responsibility for that, and he claims that caution. Looked like the 03 and the 30 were in a good battle, and I think Macklin just might have thought he was clear, pushed up a little bit, caught the nose left front of the 30 on his right-hand side, and it's really what sent both of those cars into the fence. So you see the 30 machine, no concern of getting a speeding penalty, nonetheless, because he has some damage get fixed, so he'll go past your leaders on the inside. But David Comstock does bring your race leaders down for the first time tonight on pit road, just at lap number 6. Number 40 Chevrolet into the box all the way down in pit stall number 1. Right side tires going to go up on that machine, and it looks like he'll stay in the box. Go with 4 tires early. You take a look to his right-hand side, and nobody really puts up a fight. So very short run, Cisco, and everybody in agreement up front. 4 tires, the name of the game. Dwayne Vincent out of pit road second. Bobby Terrell out third.
And from what I'm seeing, Evan, the 31 of Eric Arnold stay out, obviously get the bonus point, but also that 45 of Josh Chaney. I don't know if he was just in the back, but our timers are showing that he only stopped in the box for a split second, so not really sure what's going on in the 45. Maybe he just checked damage, Evan, or something like that, but nonetheless, straight out of the box, and he came out 7th. Don't know if he took tires, though.
Yeah, take a look on the pit stop. It looked like he did end up getting 4 tires, and you always expect, even if somebody inside of the top 5, inside of the top 10 doesn't, you always expect somebody to make that call early on just to kind of see and to experiment around to see what happens. But really, everybody more or less agreed on that one. You talk about the guys that stayed out, and again, while you do see at least one of them in front of your race leader, Gerald Campbell, he is a lap down, so he's actually not scored in second. He's running 32nd, but that 30 of Eric Arnold out in front going to go to take over the control of this race, and well, maybe if you make a strategy move like this halfway through the race, 3/4 of the way through this race, and you kind of make this move as your one move, you know, your one strategy play in this race that you think is going to put you in a position to maybe, if not battle for the win, at least benefit where you're running, I'd be surprised. But I just noted in regards to, you know, guys taking 2 tires and such, I'm not really surprised to see Eric Arnold make this move early. He does have the option when we come by the next time, the lights will go off on top of the pace car to come down pit road. That's also an option. But if the 31 wants to take a shot up front, he's already got the bonus point for leading lap. He could very well just bring us back to the green flag. Started 13th and was 13th in practice, so he's about just outside of the top 10. Maybe his race trim a little bit better.
Yeah, I guess we'll just have to see, but Eric Arnold, I mean, it's a gamble, Evan. I wouldn't really, it's early enough, so I mean, hey, why not take the risk? But you got to think that Comstock's looking in front of him, and more importantly, Dwayne Vincent, who's going to be starting behind the 31, thinking, I don't know about this car. So we'll just have to see. We'll have to see how the launch is for the 31. Like I said, this is an aero-specific track, but this is also a big enough track that that draft is going to play a huge effect, and that means maybe not on the first lap, or at least the first half of the lap. Eric Arnold's probably going to be fine, and then as soon as the draft catches him, it's all over.
We'll take a look to see what the strategy call from that number 31 Ford is going to be this time as they cycle off a quarter number 4. Nonetheless, we will see a wave around coming. It has already been completed by the driver who had stayed up from 32nd, and Eric Arnold is going to stay out, so he'll take it. So he will be your race leader, which, well, it doesn't seem like a huge, again, surprise. This could have pretty big effects for everybody else, because if you're somebody like a David Comstock, I think most notably, you're not going to be the race leader as you thought you would be, but from everybody there on back, Dwayne Vincent, you're not going to be on the outside of row 1, you're going to be on the inside of row 2. Alexander, Bobby Terrell, not going to be on the inside, you're on the outside. So positioning like that can be of great importance on these restarts. You talk about somebody like talk about the guy that was involved in the accident early on, is when Brian Macklin, who kind of stayed stationary on the restart, but somebody like Raul Alves, who's back on row 2, gained positions on the outside. So look for somebody like a Terrell maybe to go up top, because if Eric Arnold slows at all, Cisco, or doesn't really get going on the bottom, he could really hang up on the inside that 13 of Dwayne Vincent, and it could actually work out in favor of Comstock, despite the fact that he doesn't end up as the race leader.
Yeah, and we'll just have to see how it pans out, Evan, but nonetheless, the lights are out on the rough 12R iRacing.com pace car, so we're going to get back going green here. We'll have to see. Will it roll the way of Vincent and the guys on the inside, or is it going to roll the way of Comstock and the guys on the outside? We'll just have to see. I do want to mention, though, Michael Waters. We talked about him a little bit there, and I think he's my dark horse tonight, Evan. I like that 55. He needs a good run tonight, and he's shown it.
Michael Waters, 10th place in Las Vegas race a couple of weeks ago. He's also 10th in the championship standings. One win so far to this point on this 2016-17 campaign. So first time tonight, pace car going to duck off and away off of a caution flag. Field in the hands of the third out of Eric Arnold to the restart box. Green flag flies are back underway, and he stays out, gets a good jump. He'll lead off to turn 1.
Off to turn 1 they go, and single file for the most part. Top 4, your first battles for that 5th spot, and that's the 8 of Chad Cole in that Valvoline machine. He just got past the 55 from Michael Waters right there. The 8 gonna kind of draft up to that 14 a little bit as the pack starts to accordion towards the front right now. The first battle you see is that 75, the 3, and the 32. That's Ewing on the bottom right there, Brotherton above him, and then the 75, Joe Hudson leading those guys. They head through 3 and 4.
Single file inside of the top 10 or so, but it looks like there is going to be a side-by-side challenge for 4th coming off of the quarter, just as we saw on that first run of the race. Inside of the racetrack, the 8 machine up the bottom. Chad Cole started 11th, runs P5 right now, but again, Dwayne Vincent is 3rd, who started 9th. Bobby Terrell is 4th, but he started 10th, and you got, guys lined up, really 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th, started 9, 10, 11, and 12. They just picked up a handful of spots, because guys in front of him are well behind him, if not in the garage after that accident. Nonetheless, I don't think that those guys are going to complain about getting some spots early on. David Comstock, though, he's trying to fight his way to get back to the clean air. Arnold was able to pull about 4 car lengths on the restart, but the 40 is right back to the deck lid. Going to be a battle for the race lead here, and that 13 to Dwayne Vincent in 3rd. Hanging back in the wings, getting a good look at it. Keep an eye on him to maybe make a move if the 40 punches a hole on the bottom.
Yeah, and he's going to have to get to the bottom of Arnold here, because Arnold is in that preferred groove. We can already see the rubber starting to build on that preferred groove, kind of going through the center of the corner. That, of course, has been carried over from practice, from qualifying. So these guys have already raced on that track. The thing to look out for, Evan, we didn't have this last year. There's number 2 if you're keeping count at home. We didn't have this kind of preferred groove here. This might start to heat up. These guys might start to look a little bit lower, a little bit higher. But Comstock, it looks like he's running a little bit lower of a groove than Eric Arnold right now. Got a great run through 3 and 4 on the back bumper of that iAnalyze Ford right in front of him.
Keeping him honest, I think, is the option in the 40. You get a look to the bottom. Arnold really doesn't go down to defend. That nobody really going all the way down to that yellow line as we expect to see. About a lane up off of the racetrack at a 40. David Comstock, I really don't think was making that move to maybe adjust his line. I think he just kind of flashed the nose and put it out of Eric Garland to keep the 31 looking in the rearview mirror. He does look about a half a car length lower down at this end of the racetrack as well. And while getting up behind somebody gets you that draft advantage, especially at a place like Michigan, it can make that car really tight. You see that 40 inch it up to the inside. He's got it out, and it'll be side by side for the race lead at lap number 13. Fresher tires on the bottom, and quick work for the 40 David Comstock back to the point. We'll see if Arnold can battle back topside at a 2. Can't do it, can't stay single file, and it is going to be Comstock through. Here comes Vincent, though, up the bottom.
I don't think David Comstock was meaning to do that. He's going to get forced almost 3 wide there for a minute. Arnold backs off, so it's going to go side by side. Now Chad Cole has a big hole in the air in front of him, and he's going to get a draft off the 13 of Vincent. Great run for the 8 through 4, but nowhere to go. He can't go anywhere, so he's just going to sit on the back bumper of the 13, hopefully try and push him past the 40. But as he crosses the start-finish line right now, side by side, 2 rows deep, they head down to turn 1.
Yeah, how about some 2 wide, 2 rows deep at Michigan at lap number 14, and a big slide by Vincent that time at the inside. Comstock squeezes by on the outside, and he will go back to the point. And now Dwayne Vincent just trying to worry about maintaining P2 with Chad Cole challenging to the outside of the racetrack. And they will single file out the top 3. The 8 tucks in right to the back Declan. Single file the top 4 are off of quarter number 4. But you see the 14. He'll go low with Eric Arnold that time by. That side by side brought Bobby Terrell right back into this thing. The top 8 cars at a racetrack with an 8-10 to your race leader.
Yeah, and I have to notice that the 31, whatever line he gets in, everyone else jumps in the other line. It looks like Terrell's going to draft up behind him, but before when we saw Comstock drive up to him, Comstock was a little bit lower. The 14 now looking at the bottom. Eric Arnold just seems like, I don't know if they're just ditching him or what's going on right here, but either way, he's getting no help, no drafting assistance at all, maybe to try and help keep him in the fight just a little bit, and as a result, Bobby Terrell going to go by, and you got to think the 17 of Wetzel right behind him is probably thinking the same thing.
Running right now with 30 drivers scored on the lead lap after that accident early on. A couple of guys are back there limping around the racetrack. Gerald Campbell, we noted, slid off to the inside. That was not a caution earlier in this one. The McDonald's machine has gotten fixed up. He's 1 lap down in 31st. Raul Alves is the only driver to bring it behind the wall. He'll finish 32nd tonight. Other than that, battling top to bottom of the racetrack, and I think maybe for a brief moment, single file inside of the top 10. Somebody trying to fight back on the bottom. That's Joe Hudson. The 75 will lose a spot to not only Scott Stengel and AJ Browning, but also Jose Gonzalez. Had a lot of problems at a turn number 2. It'll cost him 3 spots that last time by. He'll drop to about 14th.
Yeah, and Joe Hudson has, he lost a little bit of ground there, but what he has to do, he just has to put his head down, just start charging again. I mean, he's not too far off the 26. He can get the draft. But, I mean, right now, all he has to do is just strap on that 26, conserve those tires a little bit. And meanwhile, big wreck in front of him. We're going to go on board with the 75. He's going to try and get through it, and he made it. Oh. That was amazing. Thank goodness we were on board for that. Evan, caution is out, but that was a little bit of fun, too.
He guessed wrong. He went to the bottom, and that's where all the cars were. He locked it up, but he was just able to hang on to that one and avoid getting involved. The accident in front of him, you kind of noted that it was a little bit like a Texas accident the last time, and once again, just like you would see at a place like a Texas, turn 2, again, the place where the problems come from. You're taking a second look. It was Bobby Wetzel who lost some speed, and Eric Arnold really just got pushed into it by Josh Chaney. I don't think Chaney saw the 17. He was really, I think, trying to slide off of the left rear quarter panel of the third one off of the corner, get to the bottom, and he essentially just pushed him into the 17, and poor Wetzel gets turned around, and then the 55 and the 3 were right there behind them. They had nowhere to go. An innocent victim as well was that 32 machine who also got collected.
Yeah, as we ride on board with Wetzel right now, hard hit for that 17, blew the motor of the car. But nonetheless, the caution out once again. And that's the second time we've seen the 7. Guys just running out of room. Everyone wants to be up at the top. That's where you apex the corner here. That's where you'll be fast. And it just didn't work. I mean, that's what else are you going to say? They just ran out of room. You know, you got 3 cars all going for the same piece of real estate. Guess what? It ain't going to work.
The physics were not in their favor on that one, and if we've seen it a couple of times tonight already, still shy of lap number 20, I don't expect turn 2 to remain incident-free for the rest of the night. I think that we're seeing a trend there because second time incident has happened there, and second time it's kind of happened the same way with the guys getting a little bit loose off of the corner, losing speed, and guys quenching up to the back bumper just a little bit too
Chad
quickly.
Cole, what a pit entry. What just happened there? Did you see that? He just
He's in the box. He's at an interesting angle. He nosed it into the wall. I think he got hit by Bobby Terrell. He'll get service, but it's going to cost him lots of time. Dwayne Vincent, however, didn't have to deal with all of that. The 13 in and out P1, Comstock out second. That's going to be a tough break, despite the fact that he got it fixed up. Going to cost him time with that incident on pit road. And also, you got to keep an eye on Terrell, because I think Terrell might get some damage from that.
Yeah, and we're taking a look at it right now. I'm seeing if we can find a camera. Here we go, of the 8 and what happened there. And I don't know if he just missed his... Yeah, I think he... Oh, no, he did get hit by the 14. So the 14 had the pit stall right in front of him. And, you know, he thought... I wonder if he thought he could get through him there or what the case was. But, I mean, he just, you know, he was trying to get to his pit box, Evan.
Tried it, and I was going to say tried and did not succeed, but I guess he did. He got into the box. The good news was he just popped it in reverse, and he was able to get service. A lot of the time, you'll see somebody get in an incident like that, and the sim will not allow them to get that car serviced, and he'll actually have to go out of the box back completely out. So it could have been worse. Still not the preferred way for that to go down, and that's going to, again, affect a couple of the guys who are running up front in this race. Mistakes, and I know I can't really blame the guys who were in the top 5, Cisco, that were the victims, the innocent victims of that earlier accident, but all those little things are going to add up, and it's early. It's only lap 20 at 90, so you got 70 laps to go. If you're going to have a mistake, by all means have it now, to clean in and out on the pit lane if you're continuing to have issues.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically the fastest cars that are just sort of left up there. I mean, E.J. O'Rourke is your leader right now, but if you tell me his car is 100%, I'm just going to call you a liar because it's not. Right behind him, you got the 48 Comstock, right behind Vincent, I should say. Then you got the 42 Stenzel. He's had a decent couple of weeks here. I mean, you know, for Pete's sake, he's leading the points, right? Yes. Oh, Simley. Whoops. Simley's leading the points. Never mind. But those two, I believe, somewhat teammates. We've seen them run together in USR and RSR, so maybe a little bit of little chat going on right there. Then you got the 27 of Jeff Favignano, as the comment section has told us. He is in the top 5 right now. Jeff's been able just to drive through the field right now, stayed out of the incidents, doing what he wants to do. He's been saying he just came out here to see how the field was. He wants to put down good runs. That's what he's doing right now. He's running 5th.
And he's in a position who started 22nd, kind of like those guys at that point that I noted, who started 9th through 12th, but were running 2nd through 5th. Not that they're not making moves and such, but again, if you put yourself in a position where you give yourself space, well, you see these groups of 3, 4, 5 cars all grouped up in front of you, then when something like you just saw in turn number 2 breaks out, you have the ability to safely navigate around it, pick up spots. I'll tell you what, free spots are much more fun, and I'm sure that nobody's going to complain about getting 5 spots once we get back to Cisco, as opposed to having to work for it. So free spots are the best kind of spots to pick up, and if you can put yourself in a good position to the spoils you deserve, and we're going to see how these guys line up, because E.J. O'Rourke was scored as the race leader. He'll get an EOL penalty, though, so it is going to cycle Dwayne Vincent through to the point, who's going to be in control of the restart, which means that Comstock is actually 2nd, Stenzel, Favignano 3rd, and 4th. They'll be on row number 2.
Yeah, and Browning's going to be 5th, then Mike Franklin 6th, Steve Babakwa 7th, Eric Shearer is 8th, 9th is going to go to Payne, 10th will go to Fowler. So, I mean, quite a different top 10 than what we're used to, and when you look at where they started, apart from the top 2, everyone else started outside the top 15 now.
You look at some of the other guys who started off well but aren't doing that fantastic. Jose Gonzalez started 3rd. He's 27th. Jeff Ward started 5th. He's 22nd. And Brad Macklin started 2nd. He's back in 17th position and outside of the top 15. So those guys, in some ways, I'm sure, might appreciate a caution flag here or there so they can try to pick up some spots as they go along, but nonetheless, all eyes going to be up at the front of the field for this one. Dwayne Vincent in control of the field. Pace car going to duck down and away once again. We'll see if David Comstock can do something, and we'll also take a look. Scott Stenzel, highest the 42 has been so far tonight. American Ethanol green flag flaws are back underway, and third time in a row. The race leader, good jump off to turn 1.
Yeah, great jump by the 13 of Dwayne Vincent. They head back down to turn 1. The 42 is Stenzel there on the bottom side. He's gonna fall into third right now. He was looking for a little bit more on Comstock, just didn't have the run right there. So as they come through turn 2 right now, it's the 13, the 40, the 42, and the 27. And then you got a little bit of a gap back to AJ Browning, the 82 of Mike Franklin. Those two are kind of in their own league. As Fabiano actually going to go for third right now. On the inside, the 42 is Stenzel.
Stenzel on the outside. He'll take the high line off of the corner. In front of them, saw a big slide for David Comstock. He's really getting after it, trying to stand a back bumper of Dwayne Vincent. Vincent going to be able to successfully lead lap number 22. Side by side for third. Might bring AJ Browning into this, depending on how long this battle goes on between Stenzel and Fabiano. The 27, who's on the inside, Cisco, and you would think would have the advantage, actually got kind of pushed low there in 1 and 2, and as I expected to see, Stenzel, who actually ended up in the preferred lane, was able to make the move.
And that's just how it works at Michigan. You get the run on the outside, and the guys you're racing against, if you get a good run, it doesn't matter if you're to the inside of a guy. If he has a better run than you through the corner, he's going to get the position, and that's exactly what Scott Stenzel did. So Stenzel back up to third. He's put a little bit of a gap on that Twitch car. So now Stenzel back into turn 1 right now, got to defend, and Fabiano's going to go catch him again.
He actually took a little bit of a higher arc that time when he went off to 1 and 2. He tucked himself back up on the back bumper and lost a little bit of time that time, but at turn number 2, so it looks like maybe Stenzel going to be able to sit comfortably in that number 3 spot, as it looks like both Dwayne Vincent and David Comstock are actually pulling away from those guys, the top 2, trying to fan things out just a little bit. The 16 Michigan Matthew Payne making a move just a little bit further behind in turn 4. Splits the gap between Eric Schurer and that 68 of Scott Simley. Simley going to lose 1 position and all of that, and you see that 16 Michigan Schurer up the inside of the racetrack. He'll make it a side-by-side fight. As the 36 of Steve Bavacqua would be the next target if Payne could make this move, but then 16 Chevy digging off of the restart. He himself up 14 from the start of the race. Can't get that, not another position though. 23 is going to be able to hold him off for the moment.
Yeah, 23, once again, just got a better run through the corner. He's able to repass that 16 Enos machine of Matthew Payne, and right behind him, still going at it, there's Scott Simley. And he's going on with Bobby Terrell. Of course, those guys were caught up in that mess earlier on, and back behind him, 3 wide. I just saw Brian Macklin is trying to get through the field right now, and he's got a mass of cars right around him.
Well, I was noting that he was one of the guys who, as we knew, started up front, got involved in the accident, and dropped back, and well, he does have still 2/3 of the race to go. He kind of wants to get going, and the 3 wide gets the spot on the 43. Doug Roth awfully close, tuck it in behind, and even the 03 wasn't able to get all the way up to the fence because the 95's still there. So still side by side with Jeffrey Ford for 16th. I think Macklin finally going to get that spot this time in 3 and 4. Tucked up single file in line behind Chad Cole, who is another name who we expect to be picking his way back forward.
Yeah, and Chad Cole right along with him. I mean, those two have been making their way back up front, and for the most part, the top 2 guys have sort of checked out. This is your first real battle, and the 43 does not want to let Brian Macklin go. Doug Roth hanging on the coattails of that 03 machine, and Roth trying to make his way back up to the front, and he's following the footsteps of a very fast car at the moment. That Brian Macklin machine, we know he's hungry to do well here, and Doug Roth, what a draft. He's going to dive to the inside as they head into 3.
Tight squeeze that time by as well, and he gets the spot from Brian Macklin. You do see the visible damage on the right front of the 03 Toyota. Looks like right mirror as well also ended up with damage, so obviously you have to assume that that's going to be affecting Brian Macklin nonetheless. But Doug Roth making a move. He's now up 10 spots from the start of the race to a race-high P16. Take a look a little bit further northbound with the 36 machine of Steve Bavacqua. Still side by side with Matthew Payne at 16. He's able to get around Simley, and now he's able to get his way up to Bavacqua. He'll get that spot from the 36. Still hasn't been able to get the 23 of Eric Schurer, though. He was able to defend him, and the 23 actually caught Bavacqua, passed him. 16 just did the same. same, so he continues to trail the 23, but nonetheless, +1 for both the 23 and the 16. They now ride in 7th and 8th.
Yeah, and I'm just looking up a northbound again. It looks like Fabiano was going to take a look to Stenzel. It didn't happen. So meanwhile, we'll jump back to this kind of look at the 16 right here. And these guys have been sort of following each other up through the field as we look, and we could see Fabiano ducking back out, trying to get any sort of draft run he can on the 42 of Stenzel. So we're actually going to jump back here, and AJ Browning just jumped to the inside of the Twitch TV Chevrolet, and Browning is in that Sons of Anarchy Camaro. He's on the bottom in that number 20, and he's going to do a great job through 3 and 4, but I think he's just not going to have to run again, Evan. And once again, he got a great run into the corner, but out of the corner, Jeff just gets the better run on the outside, and goodbye.
And that's all about positioning, obviously. You know, a lot of these guys going to make that move to the inside. Kind of go back to what we saw a little bit earlier with the Comstock, who just flashed the nose to the inside of Eric Arnold. Didn't really go down there to make a move, because I think Eric Arnold and both Comstock knew that Arnold was sticking on the outside to get the run off at the corner, and that's why these guys just don't want to give up that positioning. You see the 27 back to the inside, side by side inside of the top 10. 3 wide a little bit further back as Steve Bavacqua navigates traffic, but up front, Jeff Fabiano back to the bottom of AJ Browning, side by side for 4th, and it'll be a drag race to the line. Looked like the 20 of Browning held him off by about 6/1000ths that time by, but the 27 getting teamed out with looks like everybody going to the high side but him. Even Mike Franklin was looking high.
And honestly, Evan, this is getting to that point in the run where you're starting to get tired of racing the guy that's right next to you. I mean, Jeff Fabiano, he just lost the 42, and now they're going to go 3 wide, actually. 3 wide, the 82 jumped to the bottom, and he's going to get a great run into the corner, threw it down, it's contact. The 27 going to make contact with AJ Browning in the middle of 3 and 4. He's going to hold on to it, and as a result, the 82, who had what I would call a dive bomb pass down to turn 3, Mike Franklin, because he wasn't in the middle of that contact, he had full speed, said goodbye, thank you very much, and he got 2 cars in 1 turn.
And all of this is going on at Michigan. The way that these guys are slicing high and slicing low, not really what we expect to see at a place like this. You might see those more prolonged side-by-side fights. Look at the move by the 20 of Browning. Big slot off of the corner, but he refused to take the foot off the accelerator. Puts him to the inside of Jeff Fabiano. He's able to challenge once again. That one is a side-by-side fight for 5th, and Fabiano on the losing end again.
Yeah, and I think AJ Browning is not too happy with the 27. Rolls reverse in the 16, just got on the wall a little bit. That Enos Chevrolet of Matthew Payne, he got a little bit of that right side damage. He's going to fall back. Scott Simley's just going to drive right by, and we'll jump back. And Fabiano now under attack from the 23 of Shearer. And Shearer's just been kind of watching this action happen. He gets a great run out of turn 2 right now. And I think that kind of psyched out Fabiano, or he lost a little bit of his run. But as a result, now the 23 going to jump to the inside as Browning does the same to the 82.
AJ Browning, all of a sudden, kind of storming onto the scene off of this last restart, continues to get spot after spot. Who started in 15th? He's up 11 now into P4 for the first time tonight. Mike Franklin doesn't want to give it up, though. Didn't go to the bottom, though. 82 decides to use his run to step to the high side of the racetrack, and therefore really doesn't force another battle for that position. Again, putting yourself on the bottom of the 20 below the preferred lane probably wouldn't do much good, and those guys have no change. I was talking about the top 2, though, trying to pull away. They have absolutely done so. They are 2.5 seconds plus in front of 3rd and everybody else on the racetrack. Dwayne Vincent still P1. David Comstock still right there on the bumper, only half a car length off.
Only half a car length off, and they've kind of, well, they're just kind of in a league of their own right now. Those top 2, they've put such a gap on that 3rd place car of Scott Stenzel's. We'll take a look at the battle gap right now. It's about 2 seconds, more or less, Evan, between the top 2 and Scott Stenzel, and then you look back a little bit more, there's another big gap all the way back to the 20 of what is now AJ Browning, and he is, he's on that bit of a charge, but he's got a lot of time to make up.
Yeah, the biggest issue, and again, it kind of applies to the names like Macklin and such who we've been talking about trying to make their way through the field, William Hale and company, Jeff Ward, and so is you might be able to get the damage fixed. Your car's probably never going to get back to 100%, but at least for those guys who started up front, we know that they have a car to get through the field. Doesn't matter how quick you are, though. Starting that far back puts you at such a disadvantage because it takes time to get around people, to work and execute those passes, and even for somebody like an A.J. Browning, who has just been picking up speed consistently as the night continues to go on, the problem he finds is, sure, he makes the moves and gets the passes done, but it takes so long to do it. By the time he gets to fourth, like now, he's 3.4 seconds back, and I just think that's too much for him to make up on this run. So he's in the group of people who want to get to green flag pit stops, execute that well, and if that doesn't help you out, have to kind of bank on the wild card for a yellow to get you grouped back up with those guys. We're past the 1/3 marker, 36 laps in at 90.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've watched a little bit of this battle between Shearer and Bobby Terrell in that Muscle Milk Chevrolet. These two kind of going at it, and Shearer's kind of slowly made his way up, and Bobby Terrell, meanwhile, remember, he was back in the pack. He was in that first accident, a little bit of contact to that 14, got the damage repaired, and he's trying to storm his way through the field, as is Scott Simley in that 68.
Contact on a racetrack, I believe, with the 44, John Fowler. He was in a big fight. Chad Cole, the 43, the 36 there as well. I think he accidentally put a block on Chad Cole. Cole was able to make the move on him nonetheless, and the 44 apologized over the radio. You want to guess what quarter it was in? It was back off in turn number 2, with the 44 slid up just a little bit, and he tried to get out of the way of Chad Cole. Chad Cole guessed to go that direction to get away from him. It was a close call with that group of 4 cars. All of this back at about 13th position.
Yeah, and this is basically Chad Cole and Brian Macklin storming through the field.com. Also William Hale, you could throw him in that conversation. All these guys started up towards the front of your field and, were involved in either the first or second accident. And as a result, they're trying to do everything they can to get back through the field. So that Valvoline Chevrolet down on the inside of the 36, William Hale, the LSRTV Ford, he's trying to get past the 44. He's going to duck to the inside. I think he thought the 44 was going to stay on the bottom. He instead thinks better and jumps to the bottom. And then right behind him, the 03, the Gary Mercer trucking machine of Brian Macklin. Got a little bit of damage. I think he's waiting for those guys to make a path for him. Then he's going to go. Or maybe just that damage affecting that car a little bit.
Trying to see if anybody else mixing it up on track. Scott Simley just now completing that pass easily down the back straightaway, and he jumps back up in line in front of the lap number 32 of Shane Ewing, who is 2 laps down in the number 25 spot. I believe he's the 3rd driver off of the lead lap as they run right now. But he's going to be able to get around the lap traffic and navigate his way on through. Bunch of cars stacked up at about 5th, 6th, and 7th spot. Even Jeff Favignano in 8th if you want. Handful of drivers within a second or so of each other. But again, at the moment, all of these battles are single file. You talk about a Dwayne Vincent and David Comstock. They run bumper to bumper single file, but it's still a battle. Scott Stenzel, A.J. Browning, they run single file, but it's still somewhat of a battle. And you can throw out several examples of that. Bobby Terrell and Mike Franklin and company. But I think that these guys, as this run continues to get on, and as we've now got to the longest green flag stretch we've seen so far on the night, trying to limit the 2 wide because they're starting to lose those tires.
Yeah, the tires are starting to go, and this is our longest green flag run of the day right now, and we're approaching that halfway point, about 5 laps for this race. So time's starting to tick down for these guys. I mean, it's not even an hour-and-a-half race if it went all the way green. These guys doing about, well, they did a 41-second lap time last time by. Your fast lap is a 39.60. So I mean, these guys are clicking laps off, and you got to start thinking, if you're a couple seconds back of the leader, if you're maybe top 10, top 12, way in the back, 10th or 12th, you got to start thinking, Evan, it's past halfway. I'm this far back from the leader. I got to do something.
You're going to have to figure something out and maybe change something. Again, a lot of guys, I'm sure they're happy with where they're stuck. I think that if Eric Shearer gets stuck in 5th and doesn't get anything else, I'm sure that he'd be satisfied because he started in 31st on a provisional, and he's no doubt our biggest mover at the moment with 26 positions gained. But again, there's other guys. Scott Simley, who started 8th and is in 9th right now, who has actually been working his way forward on this run, knowing that, hey, I've got a car to do something, but I need a restart. I need something to mix it up, give me an opportunity to work with something. And I think that while the guys up front continue to do battle, and side by side for the race lead they go, and how about David Comstock? First time off for the restart, a change for the race lead. The 40 now back in front of Dwayne Vincent, Comstock P1. Vincent now falls to P2. Outside of the guys in the top two, I'm sure everybody would be fine with a little bit of a caution to group things back up. But the guys up front right now working the gap, working the tires, and I'm sure starting to think about coming down to the pit lane 2 laps shy of that halfway point.
You think that Comstock and Vincent are kind of in their own little Top Gun dogfight at the moment? I mean, they're 2 seconds in front of the guy right behind him. You think they're just kind of focusing in on each other, having a little bit of a fight amongst themselves? That's what it's looking like to me. I mean, they've been going at it for what, almost 10, 15, 20 laps now, and I mean, they've just been kind of on their own. No one else out there with them. You got to think, someone's playing Danger Zone off the car radio or something like that to them.
I can guarantee you that they don't care about the other guys at the moment. So they're in their own little world at the moment doing their thing. The 13 of Dwayne Vincent, I mean, he didn't let the 40 go. Often we see, maybe earlier in a run, when somebody makes a move like that, the guy just gets out of the way and says, you go, I'm doing my own thing with the tires. But I think Dwayne Vincent kind of realizes that he's not going to be able to conserve the tires anymore, and maybe David Comstock's the one who was doing the better job of that up until this point on this run. So he didn't necessarily give it up, but he didn't really shut the door on him. He just kind of pinched the 40 down. Comstock made the move, and I think that Dwayne Vincent's objective now is to keep that 40 tight until they get to pit stops.
Yeah, I mean, that's all you can really do at this point. You don't want to outrun the guy because you'll just burn the tires off. These two cars seem very evenly matched. You don't have lap traffic to really help you get a draft or anything like that. So at this point, you just keep them in tow and you let this become a shootout to the end of the race.
They'd be happy if it is a 2-car shootout to this point. They're not blowing anybody out of the water. I mean, they are 2.3 seconds in front of Scott Stenzel, who runs in third. The Baby Ruth Ford has kind of settled in that area. But in all honesty, the bulk of that time that they pulled as they get another 2/10 on Stenzel the last time by, they've gotten that gap now 2 laps in a row. It was 2.1 seconds just 2 laps ago. The bulk of the gap that they pulled away was when there was all that fighting for third, when they were 2 and 3 wide, and that group at 1.2 wide, 2 rows deep. So they're not a whirlwind ahead of everybody else. They're the best cars on track, no doubt. That's why they continue to pull away, and it's amazing to continue to watch these veteran drivers be so fast over the course of a run, over the course of a race, and then still be the fastest at the end of the run. Caution flag, though, going to come out at lap number 46. We'll slow things down. Problems off in turn number 3. Take a look at that one. Looks like Jose Gonzalez is involved. Hail to 62 and the 26 of Jose Gonzalez got into it, and I'm not sure about that one.
Are we going to have to go to the replay, Evan?
We'll get a second look. I'll tell you what, it looked like Jose Gonzalez lost speed at a 2. William Hale got the run, went to the bottom, and I think I noted this on a battle just a little bit earlier, Cisco, how somebody was coming off the 2. They saw the guy in front of them check up, and they didn't get out of the gas because they wanted to get the run, and the back end of that 62 was a little bit loose, and when he made that sharp left-hand jab to go to the bottom, the back end just tank slapped on him, and he came back around, back up into Jose Gonzalez, and it was the 26 who ends up bringing out the yellow because he spun around on the racetrack, but I think they'll charge that one to William Hale. Yeah, and I mean, for that case, Hale he tried to get a position. It was just too late of a maneuver. The car just wasn't set. And I mean, that's how unstable these cars. I mean, at the end of the day, these are 3,400-pound machines, and you're trying to reel them in just right. They don't have a whole lot of downforce. We're not talking Indy cars here, and, well, that's what got really William Hale right there, just going too fast. And that move might have worked if they were at Martinsville, but we're at Michigan. They were going about 3 times the speed, and it just didn't work. Yeah, that one's not going to fly. And just like that, we were talking so in depth about the gap, but the guys up front, race leaders, are back down pit road. David Comstock in from the number 1 position. He will once again decide to go with right side tires, left side tires as well. It is going to be a 4-tire stop and go for Comstock. He will maintain the race lead off of the pit lane. We're past the halfway point in tonight's Michigan Indy. We'll take this quick opportunity to take a caution flag of our own. Step aside, go LSRTV non-stop so you don't miss a moment of the action. Come right back to Michigan International Speedway for the restart. You're watching the 2016-2017 Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series presented by Hippies Paint Shop on LSRTV, the voice of sim racing.
So obviously you guys have come from the virtual world to reality. What do you think about a sim racer coming in the real world? What were your expectations coming in?
Coming from iRacing, a computer program basically down here to a real world scenario where you got all these guys with all these years and years and years and years of experience that are also using iRacing as a tool to come out and run against those guys and beat them and finish ahead of them and show them, there's a thing or two you might be missing is fantastic. I mean, that's a skill that I know I don't have, and I can appreciate it because I'm terrible at iRacing.
Glenn was able to come into the team. We did a lot of preseason testing, actually a full season's worth of testing before we even started the season. And he came in, there was a lot of sectors that he was the fastest guy out of our team. And Sparky and I are looking at data, trying to catch up to him through some turns. And of course, some places Sparky will be the fastest or I'll be the fastest, and Glenn is able to learn from, what we're doing and vice versa. So it was excellent to see his pace right off of the bat, and speed was never a worry. It's about qualifying well. Qualifying is very difficult, and pretty important in this series. And so is, being able to make effective passes without contact. It's very difficult to pass in these cars, so, it's not easy being here.
I think the level of ultra competitiveness in here, where when normally when you make a pass, you're making a pass with 2 cars involved. But if we're making a pass in this series, you have to remember there's 5 cars waiting behind you. If you mess up that pass, they're going by you.
Yeah, it's like sharks.
Yeah, you're surrounded by sharks. But no, it's been I've been very surprised and very pleased with it. And obviously, I have the 2 champions I'm sitting between. John actually statistically is the most successful MX-5 Cup driver in the world. He owns every record that you would want, none of the bad records.
Maybe some of them, I don't know.
Maybe some of those. And Sparky's one of the quickest guys in the paddock, and obviously the champion now. So I couldn't have picked a better team to be with 6 Sideways. I'm looking at what everybody in the paddock calls gold. I mean, they will pay to look at John and Sparky's data, and I get full access to it. And I get to see where I'm doing well and see where I can improve. And I've been really pleased with my progress.
So cool, yeah. Nate, what are you working on at the moment?
So I'm working on the animation for the game. We're working on getting pit crews fully developed, and that involves a lot of moving parts. So I'm going in and making sure that each moving part can dovetail smoothly into the next one, so that when you pull in for a pit stop, it looks like the real thing, as opposed to a bunch of jumbled pieces that suddenly stop and then go and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so cool, but why aren't you working on the time model? Nothing?
Welcome back live to the Michigan International Speedway. Lights off on top of the iRacing pace car. We get set to go back green in tonight's Michigan 90. Our continuing coverage of the RSR Icebreaker Winter Series is brought to you by Hippie's Paint Shop. Hippie's Paint Shop has over 5 years of providing top quality custom paint schemes for all iRacing vehicles at a low price, because after all, at Hippie's Paint Shop, the cost isn't the thing that's high. It's just the painter. David Comstock just took over the race lead before the yellow. He was able to maintain top spot onto the pit lane. He will lead Dwayne Vincent, AJ Browning, Bobby Terrell, and Scott Stenzel back to the restart. Into the box they go. That 40 machine dives down to the apron, collects the green flag, back underway. 50 laps down and 40 to go.
40 laps to go, and what a start by the 40 of Comstock. Motors down through towards turn 1, and a big gaggle of cars right behind them. 2 by 2 by 2. They're 2 by 2, 3 rows back, sure enough. And AJ Browning with the run coming out of turn 2 as they go down the backstretch right now. The 13 to Dwayne Vincent was able to reel them back, and they're still side by side as they head down to turn 3. Do we see them go 3 wide?
We've seen this 2 wide, 2 rows deep a couple of times tonight, and Dwayne Vincent actually loses that battle. Browning going to get the position. They come up quickly on some lap traffic. Jose Gonzalez was not able to catch the pack for the restart, so they'll go 3 wide around him. No shortage of real estate, though, on the front straightaway. Everybody able to easily navigate by, and while Comstock, Browning, and Vincent are single file, we're still side by side. P4 on back. Bobby Terrell on the outside, trying to steal it away from Scott Stenzel. He's got it.
And a great job by him there. And now Stenzel and the 23 are going at it. That's Shearer up on the top side, and Terrell is just trying to leave these guys in the dust. Not going to happen. Stenzel backs out of it there. I think he knew he didn't want to go side by side with the 23 because he was just going to lose more ground, so he's going to drop in behind rather in the draft and kind of slow the bleeding now as Stenzel trying to do everything he can to get back on course here. Lost a couple spots there. Got to get back up.
These restarts are always those things, as we've kind of been talking about, that the guys back at the pack want to sit and wait on. They bank on getting one of these. And kind of the part of the strategy is you hope to get a yellow to just assume that you're going to use that yellow to go forward. These guys are absolutely going to go at each other because really falling backwards on a restart is just not part of the plan when it comes to trying to close out one of these races. The 27 of Jeff Fabiano's been inside of the top 10 for the better part of this race. Fell to 8th on that last run after being P4. He is able to maintain his running there and keeps a close eye on Doug Roth for P7, but nothing brewing at the moment, single file.
Single files, they head back down towards turn 1 right now. A little bit of side-by-side action back between the 16 and the 03 of Brian Macklin. Still trying to make his charge up to the front. Goes side-by-side with the 16. Going to get a little bit close there, but Macklin going to give himself a little bit of room on the 16. Gets a great run out of 2. He's going to send that 16. Well, he thought he was. The 16 gets a good run regardless as they head down to turn 3 right now. Macklin still trying to fight in the 23, meanwhile, right in front of him. And the 82 of Mike Franklin. Franklin going to drop in behind Shearer in that 23. And as a result, now the 43, we look up front, it's starting to accordion together, or slinky together, as Austin Coop would say, as looks like everyone is stuck behind that 42 of Stenzel. There's about 5 cars right now that want to get past him.
Everybody knocking on the door to the 42's been forced out to the outside. But Doug Roth really wasn't able to make it stick all that well on the bottom in 2, and he has to fall back in line. And next thing you know, the guy on the attack is coming up from the bottom. It's Chad Cole in the Valvoline Chevrolet. He'll go back to the bottom of the restart, and on the 27, a little bit of a tight squeeze there. Fabiano not wanting to share real estate, and he'll go to the high side. 27's been good, though, coming off of the corner in some of these fights, and he'll go side by side behind them as well with Eric Schurter and Scott Simley. So a whole lot of battling going on. About 2.5 seconds off your race leader, David Comstock, and none of it right now involving Scott Stenzel. So far, he hangs on.
Yeah, we can see the 4 cars that are the top 4 cars are kind of to our left of our screen as we see some of these wide shots here. They've kind of checked out, and this is kind of your second pack if we were at a plate track, but we're not at a plate track if we're at Michigan. But this is kind of what happens with the draft is regardless. It's a big 2-mile track, and, you know, it brings people together so they go 3 wide. Jeff Fabiano going to go down the Earnhardt sucker. Oh, no, he isn't. Contact with the 68. They're going to hold on to it or try. Fabiano through the grass, 68 in front of. I don't think it'll come out, Evan. But once again, they ran out of road. There it is. Caution is out, and the 27 was trying to get back on the racetrack. Drove in front of the 41 of E.J. O'Rourke. That's what's going to trigger it.
Yeah, I thought he had done a good job because he came to a stop on the spin down in the grass that he was rolling by the time he came back up on track. Yeah, some of the time you see something like that and that, you know, they turn the wheels and they either slide to the inside, and at Michigan that can put you in a pit road wall, or you slide back up on track, and we have seen things go downhill quickly in scenarios where that have happened. But the 27 was looking okay, pulled back up on track, and he get hit with the yellow there, so it's going to be a tough break for Jeff Fabiano. Not only was he involved in the accident, he picks up damage, and he is also going to be the cause of that caution. And we slowed things down once again, just 10 laps after we last checked him up. David Comstock's gap is gone.
And Jeff kind of got lucky with that caution there, because if the 41 wasn't there and the track had cleared, iRacing would not have thrown the caution because he wasn't blocking the track. But because the 27 came up and the 41 was a little bit off the back of the pack, that's what they threw the yellow for, because the 27 was slow and there was a car behind him. So that's why the caution came out here. Jeff Fabiano, very lucky that the caution came out. If that 41 hadn't been there and there was no one behind him, he would have been doomed, but he saved both him and the 68, though the 68, I'm sure, isn't too happy, neither is the 27 with each other.
Basically, every time we've checked things up tonight, we've seen drivers come down to the pit lane. We'll see if David Comstock going to continue that noble tradition as they come off at turn number 4 this time. Dwayne Vincent was second. He fell to third, and I'm extremely impressed with A.J. Browning holding on to that number 2 position. They will come down in that order: Comstock, Browning, Vincent, Terrell Roth, 1 through 5. We'll see if anybody mixes it up. We have yet to see somebody come down pit road as your race leader and lose that spot.
Yeah, we'll just have to see single file down pit road. We start to see the cars turn off, the 13, the 14, now the 40. David Comstock, look at the gap. That's where they qualified right there, Evan. You can't choose a different pit stall. And you see the big giant gap from second on back all the way towards about Dwayne Vincent, Lance Scott, or William Hale, those guys. That's the big gap there. Those were the guys that qualified up front. You can see what a struggle it's been tonight for those guys. And Dwayne Vincent, what a job by his pit crew, going to get him out ahead. And A.J. Browning, meanwhile, a 15.15. Not a good pit stop from the 20. He goes from second to fifth.
Well, talking about getting things done on the racetrack, I think I noted earlier in this one that you can have a good car, but if you make mistakes, it's not going to work out for you. And A.J. Browning worked pretty hard to go P15 to P2. He's going to have to try to get 3 of those back by losing those positions, and I think Dwayne Vincent kind of happy because he kind of gets a freebie in getting P2 back. He and Comstock, I think, have been the best 2 cars all night long. Now, Browning on that last run looks stellar and actually was closer to the back bumper, your race leader, than Dwayne Vincent was close to him. So these guys up front, who have seemed, at least in the first half of that race, to be invincible, may just not have this thing locked up quite yet, especially when we get to this 2/3 mark of the race the next time by and you start talking about getting late race yellows. Anything at that point can happen.
Yeah, anything can happen. And I have to say, Evan, despite the fact that he lost a little bit of ground on pit road, I do have to agree with you. The 20 of A.J. Browning has really been the dark horse tonight. I don't think we were expecting him to make a lot of noise. I mean, he started all the way back in 15th. He's up 10 positions right now. He was up a couple more until the pit stop, obviously. But nonetheless, the Sons of Anarchy Toyota Camry, he's done a great job here tonight. He's been very consistent, and he's kept his nose clean. As long as you keep your nose clean here at Michigan and you miss some of the what we called the Texas wrecks, you'll be fine. And he's done a great job tonight, and he's continuing to do a great job. We'll just have to see if he has to can keep on to it here for the rest of the race.
The key in this is to not make that one mistake. There's going to be a point in this race for probably 90 to 95% of the field where you slip up, and you don't want to have that slip up now on maybe this restart, or depending on what the complexion of the next 30 laps is, a restart with 15 to go or 10 to go, because at this point, if you're going to have a mulligan, it would have had to have been used up at this point. It's time to lock down and go at it. You see, in front of your race leader, Jose Gonzalez going to stay out. That'll put him from 2 to 1 lap down, not quite all the way back to the lead lap. We still have 23 drivers on the lead lap at the moment. As we wait to go back into green flag conditions, I'll take this opportunity to take a look at your full field rundown. We'll look top to bottom as we're at the 2/3 marker in this one. David Comstock, your leader, as we've noted. Dwayne Vincent, Bobby Terrell, Doug Roth, and A.J. Browning are inside of the top 5, with Chad Cole, Scott Stenzel, Matthew Payne, Mike Franklin, and Brian Macklin through the top 10.
Your top 20 right now, 11th is William Hale, 12th is Mike Kelly, 13th to Jeff Ward, 14th to Jeffrey Ford, or 13th to Jeff Ward, rather, 15th to Justin Lisenby, 16th to Joe Hudson, 17th Scott Simley, 18th to Steve Bavacqua, 19th to Eric Shearer, and 20th will go to Fowler.
21st, going to go to Jeff Fabiano, E.J. O'Rourke, final driver on the lead lap in 22nd. 1 lap down for 23rd through 25th. That's Douglas Wyatt, Shane Ewing, and Jose Gonzalez. The rest of these drivers are out of the race. 26th, Gerald Campbell, Josh Cheney, 27th, Scott Brotherton, 28th, Eric Arnold, 29th, and Bobby Wetzel in 30th. Riding out the field, 31st, Michael Waters and Raul Alves in 32nd. So look top to bottom at your full field rundown at lap number 60. So the lights go back off on top of the iRacing.com official pace car. David Comstock once again going to bring us back to the green flag. We really haven't seen anybody put up a fight for P1 tonight on a restart. Maybe this will be the time that Dwayne Vincent figures out the riddle.
Well, we've seen 2 cars really lead this race tonight. It's the 40 and the 13. Go figure. I mean, Brian Macklin was up there earlier, and he's slowly making his way back up there. But as we pace right now, we still can't see him in that front car picture. Who we can see? Chad Cole. And the winningest driver in RSR history, he hasn't won in a while, Evan. And you know where he did it last time in the series that I can remember?
That happened to be at Michigan.
Yes, that did happen to be at Michigan last year. Ding.
And Cole always historically good at Michigan as well.
Absolutely he is, but as the Rough 12R iRacing.com pace car going to jump to the inside, we're going to go back to green here. Comstock on the gas pedal, green flag back in the air, and they're going to go single file almost instantly. The 43 going to get shuffled out, but for the most part, the top 3 more or less are single file. Terrell going to get to the bottom side, so yeah, they are going to go single file, and actually relatively calm for the most part, but Cole going to try to get everything he can as they come out of 2.
Digging and trying to get everything he can out of this one. He's been hanging out all race, but is yet to take that little bit extra step. Not able to get to the inside of Doug Roth this time. But in fact, A.J. Browning on the bottom of him. Cole, one of the guys who picked up a spot after A.J. Browning dropped a handful of spots on the pit lane. In fact, lost 4 positions alone. Trying to get back inside of the top 5. He's side by side with the 8 on the bottom. Not much positioning, but he does have a nose. We'll see what lane he ends up with in 1 and 2.
And who just creeped into our picture after I said he wasn't in our picture? Brian Macklin. He's coming. Oh, no, he isn't. As he gets turned right there, cars going everywhere. That's going to be a caution as soon as I talk about him. Brian Macklin once again involved in an incident, but bigger problems for William Hale. Bobby Wetzel, the 42 is Stenzel. Big wreck right there, and it was out of turn 2, and smoke coming out of what looks like the 95 there. I believe that is Jeffrey Ford in that 95. Big problems right there. And the caution is back out again, and the commentator's curse strikes again.
I'm not sure if that was your fault or if it was the fault of the 16, because it looked like Matthew Payne pushed up just a little bit, albeit Macklin wasn't giving him a whole lot of real estate, and the big slide for the 03 did not end very well. Names like the 42 machine of Scott Stenzel, who would have been a good night, was involved in that one. William Hale and company, the 2, the 95. That was probably the biggest one we've seen all night. And once again, as you noted, it happened off in turn number 2, which doesn't surprise me at all. Just guys fighting for limited real estate on a track that's wide enough to fit 7 wide if you really wanted to. There's only 1 or 2, maybe 1.5 lanes of traffic that you want to be in at a turn number 2. And these guys start to finish just don't want to give it up.
You know, Evan, I thought maybe 2017 would have brought the end to the commentator's curse, but
absolutely not.
Nope, it's still with us, and that means Brian Macklin, for all the work he did to get back up to the front, he's still 9th, so somehow he made it through there, kept the car straight. It is a little bit damaged. He's probably going to come down to get damage repaired, but you got to... I'm taking a look at the front. No, everyone is... No, they aren't. No, this is the first time we've seen cars juke off of pit road. The 82, the 03, and the 68 are the first cars to come down. Everyone else, though, going to stay out.
Yeah, top 7 stay out on track, so David Comstock does not come down for 4 tires tonight. I think it is the first yellow where your race leader is not going to come down for service, and basically everybody coming in there for 8th on back. More so guys towards the back of the pack, and obviously the handful of guys that were collected in that incident at a quarter number 2. 65 laps going to be complete for Michigan International Speedway as we pace with David Comstock still leading tonight's Michigan 90. He comes into tonight as the highest driver in the championship with a win. In 5th, as we noted earlier at the top of the show, Scott Simley, E.J. O'Rourke, Mike Kelly, and Jose Gonzalez. Top 4 in the points without wins yet. Consistency has been the key. David Comstock trying to muscle his way up. He's your race leader at lap number 65. We'll take another quick opportunity to step aside, come back to the Irish Hills in just a moment, and we'll see the 40 and 13 side by side on the restart when we do. You're watching the 2016-2017 Real Sim Racing Icebreaker Winter Series presented by Hippie's Paint Shop.
So cool, yeah. Nate, what are you working on at the moment?
So I'm working on the animation for the game. We're working on getting pit crews fully developed, and that involves a lot of moving parts. So I'm going in and making sure that each moving part can dovetail smoothly into the next one, so that when you pull in for a pit stop, it looks like the real thing, as opposed to a bunch of jumbled pieces that suddenly stop and then go and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so cool, but why aren't you working on the time model? Nothing?
Lights off on top of the iRacing.com official pace car. We get set to go back green for what could be the final restart on the night with 23 laps to go. In tonight's Michigan 90, David Comstock trying to close out what has been a solid performance here tonight. He's got a handful of drivers tucked up on his back bumper who have other things in mind. He'll hold it back just a little bit, but once again gets a good jump. American Ethanol green flag flies. He'll be about 4 car lengths to the positive off to turn number 1. Vincent, no problems in P2, but they're side by side for third behind him.
Side by side for third behind him, and Terrell on the bottom side is doing a great job as they head through 1 and 2 right now. Terrell's going to get the run as they head out of turn 2, and they're going to go side by side, but the 43 got a great run. Doug Roth in that brand new black Camaro, he's up on the high side doing a great job as they head towards turn 3, and Roth, this is the highest we've seen him in a long time, doing a great job, and I believe that's a Rogue One paint scheme.
Working his way through, he's stuck at the outside of the racetrack. We'll see if he can stay out there. He's all by himself. The 8 and the 20, both going to go to the bottom of the racetrack. Presumably, you'll see A.J. Browning follow Chad Cole through if they're able to make the pass down on the bottom of the racetrack. But the 43 all alone up on the outside. The 14 of Bobby Terrell had to get a little bit close and comfortable with each other there to sneak their way on the bottom. But nonetheless, looks like that 43 machine not be all that bad off. He's giving Chad Cole a run for his money. I think he clears him off to turn 3.
Yeah, great job by Doug Roth in the 43. He's going to clear Cole. And I mean, those two, Chad Cole and the 43 and Doug Roth, those two have driven alongside each other for a long time in this series. And both here, full throttle, they've been kind of the hallmarks of this Real Sim Racing whole organization. Those are 2 of the older drivers, and those 2 battling at it once again. Another classic fight. Doug Roth, Chad Cole, they're back at it again.
These guys are getting not tired of it, but I'm sure they're getting tired because of all the fighting that they've been doing so far here tonight. And, you know, it's these guys who run 5th and 6th or so, who are the guys who are always in these side-by-side fights over the course of the night. The guys up front, in a way, don't have to work as hard, and I don't mean that in a bad way. David Comstock's getting the job done and running away with this thing. There's a lot of stuff going on behind. We've seen plenty, especially off of the restarts. We did note that at the start of the night, that restarts are going to be critical here. But nonetheless, I think that we have seen a handful of restarts. What we have not seen, and what we may not see, depending on how this plays out, is all of those very short 2-3 lap runs, which really is the wild card option when you see these races get down to it. But in the position that we're in right now, I think we're kind of where we expected to be. Comstock, Vincent 1-2, Terrell, Roth, Cole so far through the top 5.
And Scott Zimley was starting to catch on the 27 Fabiano. I thought he was going to have, he is going to have a move out of 4 right there. A great run by the 68, and these 2 have already had a little bit of history. They're going to go at it once again as they cross the start-finish line. If you remember, such the long way back to about 2 cautions ago. Remember that these 2 had a little bit of a run-in and giving each other plenty of space right now. But the 68 got quite a run on the 27s. They came out of 4. Yeah, I don't think we're done with these 2 yet.
There's 17 cars on the lead lap, still well backing off of the pace and in a position where you can't do much. But look at these guys up front. Comstock, Vincent, Terrell, Cole, Browning, even all the way through to Scott Zimley if you want. Single file line, especially those top 6 within 0.8 of a second of each other. These are the battles that earlier in the race we were seeing about 20 to 25 laps into the run, where it's not the side-by-side 2 rows deep, just everybody in a group waiting for somebody else to make a mistake. And right now, maybe, wait for somebody else to make the first move. You don't want to go to the bottom of the racetrack, not make it stick, slide up at a 2, lose 4 positions, and then your hopes of going for the win at all are basically dashed at that point. These guys right now in a position where if the guy in front of them loses a little bit of speed, gets a little bit loose, they will be on top of him. And now I think inside of 20 laps to go with 17 to go this time by, I think that really these guys aren't just going to make a move the second they get it. I think they're going to try to make a calculated move while they still have time on the board, because the move could decide if they have any opportunity at going for the win.
And I do have to notice that the 20 is trying to do everything he can as the lap car, the 33 machine of Justin Lisenby up on the high side. But the 20 is trying to do everything he can and now going to finally get to the inside of Chad Cole. I saw him clip the grass last time around coming through the tri-oval here. So AJ Browning, we do not count him out just yet. He might have fallen back a little bit, but the 20 of AJ Browning, we've seen how fast he can get through the field here. He's up here now. He can get up there and battle with those leaders. We'll just have to see.
Only 3 drivers who started inside of single-digit starting positions tonight, if you want to include Bobby Terrell, who started P10. In the top 10 drivers who started this race, only 4 of them are inside of the top 10 at the moment. The driver who started P1, though, is still P1 at the moment. Dwayne Vincent, though, to the back bumper as we start to see some space grow between Vincent in second, Terrell in third, and even Bobby Terrell in third to Doug Roth at fourth, the 14. Kind of trying to hang on with the top 2, but not making it get the job done. Dwayne Vincent, I think, in the best position he's been in comparison to Comstock in the last 30 laps.
And this is, Dwayne's just going to follow Comstock for a little bit. I mean, talk about 2, maybe not conservative drivers, but they like their long-run cars, both these guys. Bobby Terrell a little bit more aggressive than these 2, but he's kind of hanging tough with these guys right now. But these are your long-run specialists, your David Comstock and your Dwayne Vincent. These guys know how to get the most out of a long run. We got 15 laps to go to get to the end of this race. We know they're probably going to have the better cars out of the rest of this field. They've had it all night. It stands to reason they're going to continue to have it for the rest of the race. But the 14 of Terrell says, no, I got to go right now before the tires fall too much off here. And he's on the back bumper of the 13 of Vincent. But honestly, Evan, if this goes to the end of the race, Bobby Terrell's got to convince me he's got a long-run car, because I haven't seen it tonight. If he can be up there and battle with it, he's going to absolutely surprise me. But Bobby Terrell needs to be up there, and he needs to hold on to those tires if he hopes to keep pace with the top 2 guys who, like I said, they're long-run specialists. They know how to keep these tires on the ground.
Something else that's kind of interesting is I think that if this most recent restart, assuming that we stay green for the next 13 laps, came maybe 10 laps sooner, we'd be in a very interesting place, which would be, we get to the final 5 laps when you really start to consider the run that we're on as a long run, when the tires fall off, because then, somebody has an opportunity to save a little bit. And I think that, sure, we're going to see the times begin to drip away as we close in at lap number 90, but I think that hanging back and then going for the push late, just not going to happen. I don't think that this run is long enough. I think that, if you're in a position like a Bobby Terrell right now, you got to go. Maybe hang back in third and hope that, Dwayne Vincent goes up, makes it side by side. You can sneak in and do something with it. But at least at the moment, I think that this run isn't quite long enough to save, and then push at the end. I think that if you're the 14, you need to stay on the back bumper of the 13. And if you're Dwayne Vincent, you cannot let Comstock get away.
You can't let Comstock get away, and you can't let Vincent get away, but Bobby Terrell's starting to lose him already. And that's what I was afraid of. We saw the 40 and the 13. They were so good during the last long run. This is what I was afraid of. I didn't know if Bobby Terrell was going to have the car, and right now he's losing time. He could still gain it back if he gets the draft, but Evan, draft can only do you so much, and once you start to lose that, if you lose that crutch of the draft, you're doomed.
We'll see if anybody else maybe puts themselves into this conversation. It was, as I noted, that 6-car group. Well, the back 3 have now fallen more than a second off. They're still in the same order. Doug quite yet goes to the back bumper, takes a look in turn 1, still not able to get necessarily down to the bottom and make it side by side. But the next time by, as we come off of turn number 2, there's going to be 10 laps left to go tonight from Michigan International Speedway, and David Comstock is starting to open it back up.
And AJ Browning just went to the inside of Doug Roth right there, the Sons of Anarchy Toyota Camry. He's going to get by the 43 right there. And it's going to get a little bit interesting. A little bit of a nudge helping him down the front straightaway right now is Doug Roth. Chad Cole just watching this take full I think he was waiting to see if something would happen to those two. Able to keep it straight, though. The 43 just give him a little bit of a bump draft down the front stretch. So they head down turn 1 right now. Doug Roth back in the clutches of Chad Cole. But what a run he got through the center of the corner. Rolled the center just right, and he's back in this fight.
See the 40 go a little bit lower that time down the back stretch so we can get around the lap traffic, and no issues either for the rest of the guys as Jason Lisenby stays high. He's running in 20th right now. I mean, still plus 10 from where he started in 30th, so not all bad, but he now goes 3 laps down, and you can see the damage on that machine, and he played an interesting role behind because he kind of forced the 43 machine, rather, to be able to go to the bottom by forcing the 20 of A.J. Browning to check up. So the 20 lost 4th that time by. He's still side by side with Doug Roth, and he's on the outside, and contact in 2, and into the fence they go.
And I started to see that coming. The 43 got sent to the inside, wasn't able to apex, and that's what happened. Stays green, though. They're not blocking the track, and we just stumbled on a little bit of a battle there. The 27, the 03 going at it a little bit there. Macklin and Fabiano. So we'll keep an eye on that battle as they head through 3 and 4 right now. But Evan, they ran out of room. They once again ran out of room. The 43 just pushed up, got a little bit tight, and, you know, the wall was right there, and there was nothing the 43 could do. He was too tight.
And a spitting image of what we saw happen the last 2-3 times that a caution came out down at that end. Luckily for, I think, those guys and for the guys up front, this one stays green. They both got into the fence. They were able to keep on going, but it's a tough break for A.J. Browning, who falls to 13th, and you know, Doug Roth has fallen down into the number 10 position as they run right now, and it has made it very clear that this is a 3-horse race. Comstock, Vincent, and Terrell. Chad Cole now on the cusp. He's up to P4, but again, 2.8 seconds back is too far back to be able to do anything with it. So Comstock, Vincent, and Terrell going to have to decide it amongst themselves. Comstock now 0.7 of a second in front. And the next time by, he'll take 6 laps to go. At 5 to go, if we get a caution, we will not have enough time in this race to cycle through a cycle of caution. Therefore, that this race would end if a yellow comes out with less than 5 laps left to go. So if we are due to see one more restart, yellow's going to have to happen soon.
And I'm chatting a little bit with one of the staff members up here in the booth, and he made a good point. It's like, we have 5 lanes here, and yet we keep talking about this Texas effect where everyone's trying to get to the same lane, but that's because that's where you apex in the corner. Everyone's trying to go for the same real estate. The groove has been rubbered in, but not enough to the point where it's not fast, Evan. So everyone wants to be where the groove is.
Yeah, like I said, there's about those 1.5, 2 lanes of real estate in the center off of 2. Everybody wants to go up to the fence at a quarter number 2, but it's that center off when you get back into the gas where these guys don't agree, because the guy in the bottom is going to slide high up off of the corner starting in the center, and that's why we see anytime these guys go too wide, you start to push up before that guy on the outside does. Not that the guy on the outside of a 2 wide just goes rim riding, he's not up against the fence, but he doesn't push like the guy who uses the bottom lane down there does, and that's why we see these guys meeting about 3/4 of the way through 1 and 2, and it's the same thing every time we've seen it.
And if we were in Delara's or an F1 car or something like that, we could use all 5 lanes, but we don't have that amount of downforce. We don't have that amount of just aerodynamics in these cars, so these guys end up running the same line over and over. It's a little bit different at Auto Club. Auto Club's a little bit bumpier. It upsets the car more, so that means you can do a little bit. But at the same time, Auto Club has a similar problem, not to the same extent that Michigan has, but nonetheless, you still get to see it, and it's just the stock cars. That's just how they drive. I mean, they're 3,400-pound cars, and you look at the wing at the back, one of those, and Evan, you got to think, coming next year, it's not going to get much better. The wing's getting smaller on these cars next year.
Yeah, and that's obviously to come at some point this year now, when we get the smaller spoilers and we'll get the updated Camaros and the Xfinity machines and whatnot. You'll get the less downforce. That'll be coming in the coming months here on the service, and that's probably going to happen. Obviously, there's going to be downforce changes to the Cup cars, which is going to affect the RSR Full Throttle Cup Series. that we'll see upcoming as well. But these Xfinity Series machines will be interesting to watch on an untelevised night with something like RSR B Series, the Asphalt Assault, or even coming up next winter. So that's something to keep an eye on as well. Something else to keep an eye on is Dwayne Vincent, because his gap continues to grow and grow and grow. He now finds himself at a 9/10 of a second disadvantage. It'll be popsicle sticks in the air the next time by David Comstock. It's his to lose.
It absolutely is, and there's a little bit of a battle right behind these guys for fourth spot. I mean, Chad Cole's been kind of holding off that 68 to Simley, and for Simley here, this is a very good points night. You look at the guy right behind him. EJ O'Rourke was involved in that first accident way back in the field. He's going to be able to gain a significant gap and a top 5 finish for that 68 machine. Once again, we said at the top of the show, consistency wins championships, and Scott Simley has been putting on a clinic of consistency.
We noted kind of the contrast there. This is going to be the second time, if David Comstock can close this one out, that he's been to victory lane. He got his second pole position on the year here tonight, and for somebody like a Scott Simley, who P5 has only led 1 lap this year into tonight. Somebody like a Mike Kelly, who has led 0 laps this season into tonight. Not quite the result he wanted. Got caught up in some accidents. He's down in 15th. It's going to hurt him. And then you can look at somebody like a David Comstock as he comes to take the white flag, who has led over 100 laps. But it's the nights in which the 40 doesn't win that has been hurting him in the points. And tonight, though, he continues to show that if nothing happens to him, he's a car that is going to be in the fight to go to victory lane, and he's going to do this one comfortably over Dwayne Vincent by a gap of about 1.5 seconds. Vincent has really slowed off at the last lap, enough to make Bobby Terrell think that he might have a shot at P2. They'll go off to 3 and 4, maybe the 14, going to come up about 1 lap short by putting up a challenge. But how about David Comstock? Checkered flag number 2 on the season. Pole sitter dominates tonight at Michigan, gets the job done. David Comstock, your winner again.
And Chad Cole going to hold off the 68 to Simley. So Chad Cole's going to get another top 5, another great result for Cole here at Michigan. But David Comstock, like you said, another great night for him. This will balance out the runs he's been having, but Simley finished 5th. So he's still got a lot to go to catch that points leader. Did it help? Absolutely. The wins always help, Evan. But you got to think, for David Comstock, this is a bounce back. He's got to bounce back from this and maybe not win the next couple races, but run up front.
Vincent does end up with a P2. Bobby Terrell inside of the top 3. We'll talk with your top finishers on the other side, and then we'll get you set for the next race coming up in 2 weeks' time, on the 16th, as we head to the Charlotte Motor Speedway for the 6th race on the season. But David Comstock, he's 2 for 5 so far, and tonight going to give him a boost in the championship. The Monster Energy Chevrolet, your winner in tonight's Michigan 90. We'll step aside one final time, come back, and when we do, we'll go trackside, talk with your top finishers tonight from Brooklyn. You're watching LSRTV's continuing coverage of the 2016-2017 RSR Icebreaker Winter Series, presented by Hippie's Paint Shop. Hippie's Paint Shop has over 5 years of providing top quality custom paint schemes for all iRacing vehicles at a low price, because after all, at Hippie's Paint Shop, the cost isn't high, it's just the painter. We'll be back on the other side.
It was more than impressive, I have to say. I mean, the track is identical to the real track. I was blown away how realistic it is. Every little bump, every little spray paint, everything is exactly like you were there at the track. It was a great experience.
This is a warm-up lap now. Tires to get warmed up. The engine. Breathe a little bit here when you go through that little bump there. And then it's flat pretty much all the way through here, just about. Hard braking. This is the slowest part of the track. And then I've done, I did many races in Formula 3, Formula 2.
And then I did the very last race they did there in Group C in 1983 in the 956 Porsche. That's when Beloff got the lap record at the 6:11. I think I was second on the grid with the 6:14 or something, which was, I mean, those cars were awesome around there, of course, like any car is, you know, that speed.
And this is the corner of all corners here, the Schwedenkreuz. Flat all the way into it. And then trail brake all the way into the apex here. And then hard at it again to get good speed down the hill here. Mega fast down this hill here. Just jump from one apex to the next. Gotta be super precise here.
I mean, it's almost exactly like the real thing. So, I mean, it is certainly realistic enough to get past the very, you know, a lot of the initial hurdles you have when you try to learn to drive a race car, you know. So, I mean, I think it's an excellent tool to learn how to race for sure, or learn to drive a car on a racetrack.
So cool, yeah. Nate, what are you working on at the moment?
So I'm working on the animation for the game. We're working on getting pit crews fully developed, and that involves a lot of moving parts. So I'm going in and making sure that each moving part can dovetail smoothly into the next one, so that when you pull in for a pit stop, it looks like the real thing, as opposed to a bunch of jumbled pieces that suddenly stop and then go and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's so cool, but why aren't you working on the time model? Nothing?
We're back live from the Michigan International Speedway. 5 races now complete on this 10-race RSR Icebreaker Winter Series Championship, provided with Hippie's Paint Shop as our title sponsor. David Comstock, for the second time, is a winner. We'll take a look top to bottom at tonight's LSRTV full race results from round number 5. Just as they were, very similarly, at that 2/3 mark, Comstock, Vincent, and then Terrell going to come home inside at the top 3 tonight. Comstock, as noted, is second to it on the year. Chad Cole and Scott Simley, good results inside of the top 5, accompanied by Joe Hudson in the number 6 spot. Brian Macklin with a good bounce back, able to get P7, and big movers, Steve Bavacqua, Jeff Faviano, and Doug Roth through P10.
11th spot going to go to Payne in that 16 car. John Fowler is going to finish 12th. 13th to AJ Browning. 14th going to go to EJ O'Rourke. 15th to Mike Kelly. 16th Jose Gonzalez. 17th Mike Franklin. 18th to Eric Shearer. 19th will go to Shane Ewing. And 20th to Justin Lisenby.
21st position, Scott Stenzel, going to be 8 laps down. The rest of these guys were behind the fence and done. Jeffrey Ford, William Hale, Jeff Ward, and Douglas Wyatt through P25. Bobby Wenzel, Gerald Campbell, Josh Cheney, Scott Brotherton, Eric Arnold through 30th. And the final 2 drivers to start the race tonight, 31st, 32nd, Michael Waters, Raul Alves. 2 drivers who at the start of this one, we were talking about having a possibility of being a contender in this one. Their nights did not work out very well, and we expect to see, based on the results here tonight, a little bit of shuffling towards the top of the championship standing. Speaking of the points, enter tonight P5. He'll exit at least 1 position higher with his second win on the year. David Comstock gets the job done. Second time on this 2016-17 campaign, he's your winner, and he gets the job done tonight from the Michigan International Speedway. David, congratulations. It looked like relatively you and Dwayne for a lot of the night. I know that there were a couple of players in there at one point jumping in between you and him, and for a lot of it hanging out in 3rd and 4th, not all that far back, but really for all intensive purposes, it was you and Tim, and it looked like you were just that little bit better all the way through to the end.
Yeah, that crash that we had on the start, that really created a separation in the field. That took a lot of guys out, so if it weren't for that, I feel there would have been a lot more people involved in the front, in the lead pack at least. But yeah, once that happened, and Dwayne, and I know he's good here, and so we just, he and I really worked with him to the first run, especially when we went green for a while, just following him, seeing what he's doing, and learning off of him because I know he's good, and then just started throwing my own mix into it.
We knew that this one was going to be a fun race nonetheless coming into it. We were also talking about its relation to Fontana, the other 2-mile D-shaped oval, and some of the similarities and some of the differences. You were able to get the job done at both of those 2-mile racetracks that we've seen so far this year. What is it about this kind of a track that I think, or rather that you think, kind of plays into your driving style and allows you to find success at them?
I think the way these tracks have to be driven is just you can't overdrive the entry because these long straightaways will kill you. So it's these momentum style racetracks, going in easy and then getting off the corner real hard. I feel that plays in my style because I'm not one to really go diving in the corner a whole lot. I'm more conservative on entry, so I feel that plays into my style maybe.
You guys get the 2017 side of things kicked off as best you can. We were talking about some of the interesting numbers in the points. You came into tonight 5th with a win. All 4 guys in front of you without a trip to victory lane, and all 4 guys in front of you had less than half total amongst all of them of the laps led that you guys have had this year. So we were talking a lot about consistency. You guys kind of flexed the muscles with the second win on the year for you guys. How do you kind of relate the two?
We've been up front a lot. We haven't had the finishes I feel to show for it. Have had issues where we either got caught up in a wreck or caused a wreck or something. So Yeah, we've been up front. We've had speed the whole season, but I still feel there's an inconsistency in that standpoint where the finishes aren't reflecting how we run. So I feel if we can stay away from a lot of the mess and keep our head on our shoulders and not do anything dumb, I feel that we can have a legit shot of going throughout this whole chase with the championship.
You were able to pick up the second pole on the season as well tonight. For you guys, that it led to a trip to victory lane, so you guys are finding the success and kind of showing that you have those fast race cars, and if you're in it at the end, you guys are able to do it. You really doubled, I think, the gap you had on Dwayne there in the last 2 laps of this one to really put an exclamation point on it. Second win on the year for you guys, David. We'll let you take off, and I know you guys have another off week to enjoy, so we'll see you back in 2 weeks' time. Before we let you do, though, as always, who helps you park that 40 in victory lane?
I'd like to thank everyone back at Aftermath Motorsports for allowing me, EJ, and Brian Macklin for all coming over doing this deal. And thank you to Real Sim Racing for providing the leagues here, and LSRTV for providing the broadcast, and sponsors for my car here with Gary Mercer Trucking, Moss Energy, and JD Laird for painting my car, having my car painted for every single week, and EJ Brakes and Hick and Jicks, and just everybody back at the shop. Appreciate you guys.
Your race winner tonight from Michigan, David Comstock. David, thanks for sticking around and chatting with us. Congrats to you guys again, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time for round number 6.
All right, have a good off week.
Your winner tonight, Dwayne Vincent, Bobby Terrell were there and in the conversation, and unfortunately they end up just 1 spot shy, but still great points nights for the drivers of the 13 and the 14. They come home P2 and P3 tonight. Cisco Scaramuza is trackside with both of them, starting with the number 13.
Yeah, down here on pit road with Dwayne Vincent, and caught up with the driver of the Parker Store Chevrolet. And Dwayne, well, you were having fun with David Comsley, the two that made it out of most of the wrecks up front. Talk us through your race. How was it out there?
Yeah, that was a little crazy. We were just talking about that, Bobby and I. It's amazing what you see some of these guys do on lap 2 or 3. Guy run up on the back of somebody like that cause a lot of problems for everybody running up front like that. When you're running third, I mean, what you could lift and let the guy go. I mean, I don't see the big deal in it. But anyway, yeah, we made it through that. David is just so tough in these cars, man, especially on the long run. I could hang with him for 15, 20 laps, but after that, I had nothing for him. He was the class of the field for sure. But had a blast. It was fun.
Yeah, it looked like you were having fun up there, Dwayne. As a momentum swing, a great run up front tonight. How does this have your outlook for the rest of the season here? We're past the halfway point now. What's the outlook for the rest of the season?
Just try to keep the momentum going. Having fun. Got some good track coming up. Looking forward to the chase. That ought to be a tough one. It should be very exciting. So just going to try to keep everything going, keep doing what we're doing, and get ready for the chase.
All right, Dwayne, will you finish second here tonight? You're in the Parker Store Chevy tonight. Sponsors, shout-outs. Who gets it done for you in the 13 team?
Parker Hydraulics. Everybody at LSRTV, we appreciate what you guys do. And the admins at RSR, they do a lot for us. My buddy John Abbott, and mom and dad watching at home. That's about it. We appreciate it.
All right, well, that's Dwayne Vincent. He finishes second here tonight. Dwayne, congratulations. We'll see you next week.
Thank you, sir.
All right, well, I'm going to jump down pit road a little bit here and catch up with the number 14 of Bobby Terrell. And Bobby, you finished third here tonight. And I said it during the broadcast. I said if you could hang up with those top two who were strong all night, you would absolutely impress me. And you absolutely impressed me tonight. You were so fast out there. How was your race?
Kind of up and down, but thank you very much. I mean, I was just trying to run my own race, not trying to stay out of trouble at first and take care of my stuff. And of course, we had that big wreck, and that took out a lot of people. And then I made a mess up on pit road. I got into Chad, and I had about, I think, 15 seconds worth of damage, so that cost me a little bit. I still had a little bit of gap on my hood, but I didn't have nothing for David or Dwayne, either one tonight, but I'm happy with third.
Yeah, absolutely. We can see a little bit of damage on the left front still, but Bobby, just a great run for you. I'll ask you the same thing I asked Dwayne. We're past the halfway point in the season now. How's the outlook for the rest of the season? You got a bunch of tracks coming up here. Are they good tracks for you? Are they bad tracks? How's the season looking for you?
I haven't even looked at the schedule, so I don't know. I know that I'm, like I said, I didn't finish the first 3 races because of getting into other people's stuff. So I'm way back in points. For me to be in the chase, I have to win, so I'm just going to try to win, one of these remaining races is my goal.
All right, well, you finished 3rd here tonight in the Muscle Milk Chevrolet sponsor. Shout-outs. Who gets it done for you in the 14 team?
Muscle Milk, of course, and then I'd like to thank you guys in the booth for all that y'all do, and RSR for putting this on, and then my teammates, for helping me during the race with pitting and stuff.
All right, well, that's Bobby Terrell. He's going to finish 3rd here tonight. Bobby, congratulations, and we'll see you next week.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, well, that's going to do it for everyone. And Evan, I just took a look to the schedule, and boy, I hope you like 1.5-mile tracks because we're going to a lot for the next couple races. We got Charlotte, Atlanta, Chicagoland, Kentucky, and Homestead. Yeah, they're all 1.5-mile tracks. We're going to a lot here. Not all of them are cookie cutters. Obviously, you have Homestead, and Chicagoland's a little bit different, but nonetheless, a lot of 1.5-mile tracks. It's going to be interesting.
And I think that somebody that is really going to like looking at that is the person who we were talking about into tonight, Jeff Ward. If he's able to make those starts, he is 2nd and 1st are the results that he has on the 2 1.5-mile racetracks that we've seen this so far. And that's all we got. And it's going to be 5 weeks back-to-back. Next week off, but then the 16th, the 23rd, and the 30th of January, followed by the 6th and the 13th of February. It is a whole lot of 1.5-mile racing coming to you here on LSRTV at iRacing Live. And, well, all those tracks are still considered intermediate tracks, if you will. They all have very different characteristics. Atlanta going to be very different from Chicago, going to be very different from Kentucky, none of which is quite like Charlotte, where we go under the lights in 2 weeks' time in Cisco. It's always interesting to go to Charlotte because Charlotte's that 1.5-mile track that everybody on the iRacing service gets when they sign up for the first time. It's where most, if not everybody, starts their oval career on the sim, and it's at nighttime, so you toss a little bit more grip on those machines, and it is always bound for a wild night with 125 laps of action in 2 weeks' time.
I think we say it a couple times, Evan, but everyone feels like they're Superman when they go to Charlotte because everyone's going, man, I've been around here in a street stock, I've been around here in whatever car have you. People have taken a lot of laps at Charlotte Motor Speedway. It's going to be a lot of fun, but the biggest thing you got to watch out for, Evan, is everyone feels like Superman. Not everyone's going to be Superman tonight. One guy's going to walk out of there with the checkered flag. Everyone else, maybe not so much, and the aggression might get ratcheted up just that little bit. We're getting a little bit closer to the end of the season, and of course, it's Charlotte. Everyone wants to win at Charlotte.
It sounds funny to say that Charlotte is almost a little bit like Daytona and Talladega, but in the fact that, again, everybody has a lot of track time there. Sure, the upperclassmen of drivers, if you will, the guys who are the guys that we kind of mark down as the championship contenders, sure, they're going to be faster, but that's a track where everybody has a shot at it. And I think that you're going to see a lot more people in play come that week, or that race rather, in 2 weeks' time. We do have 2 more races, though, coming up this week on LSR TV and iRacing Live. You can find us this coming Thursday, January the 5th. Action begins at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time for the Upstate Racing League. And we'll also see you this weekend, Saturday, January the 7th at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern for our continuing coverage of the United Sim Racing BNC Lawn and Landscaping Truck Series. You can take a full look at our upcoming broadcast schedule on our website at www.livesimracing.com, and you can also stay up to date with us on social media. Make sure you're subscribed to us at youtube.com/LSRTV. You can also stay up to date with us and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/LSRTV, and you could also give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/LSRTV official. Until next time, though, that wraps things up tonight for the Irish Hills of Brooklyn, Michigan. On behalf of the entire team at LSRTV LLC, for the crew behind the scenes, and for the broadcast team tonight, for myself, Evan DePizzoco, for our producer, Cisco Scaramuza, want to congratulate David Comstock as now a 2-time winner at RSR Icebreaker Winter Series competition. We will enjoy next Monday off. We will see you in 2 weeks' time from NASCAR's backyard. We'll see you in Charlotte. Good night.